Hey there.
Hi.
Hey. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Danielle and I wanted to speak to you all about genetically modified foods and why I feel that they shouldn't be bought and consumed. When you hear the term genetically modified, what do you think of? Do you think of chemically induced foods? Do you think of meats as being the only thing genetically modified? Or do you simply think of nothing at all? I'm here today to state a few facts in hopes that I can get you to think twice before buying genetically modified food. How can we be so sure that the food we're buying from the grocery store isn't affecting our health? GMO foods are foods that are derived from organisms whose genetic material has been modified, but it doesn't happen naturally. This alteration can happen to the seed before the seed is planted or while the seed is growing. GMO foods are harmful to the environment, they're toxic to our health, and they're damaging to the economy. These are the three essential factors as to why I feel like we shouldn't buy GMO. According to the commercial of biotechnology, genetically modified foods can decrease our immunity, leaving us susceptible to illnesses such as pneumonia, bronchitis, and even skin infections. There's been studies to find that GMO foods have an adverse effect on the kidneys, the pancreas, the liver, and even our reproductive system. Now, I'm not saying that genetically modified foods are the only thing contributing to this, but I do believe that they play a heavy factor. The body was not created to continuously ingest foreign chemicals every day for years and years. I currently work in a medical field, and every day I see patients suffering from different things, and illness does not discriminate. It doesn't care if you're black, white, young, poor, rich, or old. It affects you. And you can't continuously ingest something that's chemically modified, and researchers don't even know what the long-term effects of this cause can be on human health. Cancer is created by mutations in DNA. So if you're constantly eating food that has been chemically altered, the DNA has been altered, your body can possibly react to that new gene that's been introduced and possibly create or cause cancer to form. When you hear things like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, or people who need to be on gluten-free diets, how can we be so sure that that's not coming from the food? When I was coming up, we didn't hear about these types of illnesses. Procon.org states GMO foods has the potential to lower the effectiveness of antibiotics. This website also explains that the genetic engineering process doesn't have to go through the USDA, which is an organization formed to protect us from food that is not healthy, food that is not good for us. And if GMO food was okay for us to consume, then why do countries in the European Union ban this practice altogether? When you think about the environment, you think about global warming, you think about the air and the pollution in the air, that doesn't just come from cars and factories. That comes from compounds in the soil being changed, and the toxins that are released from these crops into the soil. That comes from all of that. So it's a trickle effect. The soil has GMO DNA that is in compost, it's in animal feed. It affects organisms like insects and large pests. Bees are heavily affected by GMO crops because they're being exposed to the herbicides, the pesticides, and that DNA, and they're pollinating the flowers. The insects like the bees and the butterflies and the birds, they pollinate one plant to the next, which helps the life cycle of a crop, which helps that crop to grow. So if they're becoming on the verge of being endangered because they're dying off, because they're being exposed to these chemicals, that can affect our crops altogether, and then everybody is suffering. And then the growth process is largely affected by GMO crops because the crops deplete the nutrients from the soil. So the soil becomes dependent on that GMO seed in order to even grow a crop to begin with. So it's dependent on that herbicide, that pesticide, and that those chemical fertilizers for it to grow. And then with that happening, that creates less pollen for the pollinators, which again create that ripple effect that happens. Also, farmers are economically suffer from GMO crops because according to farmaid.org, farmers who claim to be an organic farm, if they're accidentally cross-contamination because of an insect pollinating from one farmer's GMO crops to a farmer who is organic to their crop, and there's a trace of that found in their crops, they can lose their organic certification and lose that premium that they earn every year. If they wanted to do an export and trade to another country, if those crops are found to have those GMO components in their crops, now that country doesn't want to trade with them because this country doesn't even allow that in their country. So now they can't make a profit that way. They're also required to pay for these expensive GMO seeds every year in order to even grow the crops. And then they can be sued for piracy, seed piracy, because if an insect cross-contaminates and takes some of that person's seed license in some of their crops and cross-contaminates with another crop, now it's cross-contamination. Oh, now you've stolen my patent to the seed. And it's through no fault of the farmer's, the farmer had anything to do with that. So, again, I ask you, the next time you go to the grocery store, ask yourself, is the GMO food a good choice for you and your family? I hope that some of the things that I went over tonight has you second guessing or at least thinking twice before making that purchase. So I want to thank you for your time. That's my time, and you all take care. Bye.